This is Broadcaster 7, coming to you once again across the airwaves in the expanse of the unknown. This is the Night Signal. This week I have a story about one of the first investigations I did as broadcaster of the Night Signal. I was still new at this, and besides my personal interactions with the paranormal, I had never really investigated something that did not involve me. That all changed after I took up the mantle of Broadcaster 7. So sit back and join me as I take you to the little town of Stevensville, Texas, where I investigated the strange things they saw in the sky on January 8th, 2008. Be sure to stay to the end to get the next key you need to help me find Broadcaster 6. If you haven't already, take a look at the first video in this series to start your hunt. Reach the end, and you could win some free merch. If you like this type of video, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps me keep the Night Signal broadcasting. So there I was, driving to Texas from Colorado. I had spent years looking for the source of the night signal, and now I found myself in control of it. What was I supposed to do next? Broadcaster 6, who handed me the reins of the night signal after I tracked her down, told me that I would know what to do. But to tell you the truth, I didn't. I needed to make my first broadcast. But about what? Where do I even start? I had the ultimate case of writer's block. I had big shoes to fill, and I have always suffered from imposter syndrome. As I drove through the night with the soft hum of AM radio playing in the background, my mind drifted off to the strange lights I had heard about in Stevensville, Texas. That winter, the townspeople of Stevensville had seen something strange in the sky, something they had a hard time describing. Without really knowing it, I found myself changing course, south from Lubbock to Abilene, and then on to Stevensville. It was strange. I didn't really know what I was doing until I pulled up into town in the early morning hours. The town of Stevensville is a lot like other small Texas towns, with its beautiful courthouse in the town square and its main street. It really is picturesque. A snapshot of a bygone era that so many strive to get back to, and in the end, it is impossible to ever get to. The town is literally tied to Texas history. The land of the town was awarded to the surviving family of John Blair, who was killed fighting for Texas independence at the Alamo. A section of that land was sold to John M. Stephen, who, in 1855, settled the town. Stevensville is just what you would expect now. Little shops, good barbecue, and beautiful countryside. But that year, Stevensville became known for something else. Something outside the usual craft fair and farmers markets. It became known for its UFOs. The first rays of dawn began to break through the horizon when I parked my van at the edge of Stevensville. I couldn't help but admire the serenity of the place. The sun-kissed fields and the quaint charm of the town gave no hint of the unusual events that had transpired here on that fateful night. As I strolled down the quiet streets, I could sense a tension lingering in the air, an underlined curiosity about the unknown. It had only been a few months since the event of that night, and its after effects could still be felt in that town. My mission was clear: investigate the strange lights that had captured the attention of the world just a few months ago. Residents of Stevensville had witnessed something extraordinary on January 8th, 2008, but their descriptions of the event were vague and inconsistent. I needed to get to the bottom of this mystery, and it was time to interview the people who had experienced it firsthand. I began my investigation by visiting the local shops, diners, and gas stations. I wanted to get a feel for the town, of its people, and the stories that they had to tell. Stevensville, it turns out, was a tight-knit community. Everyone knew everyone, and they weren't quick to open up to a stranger asking about UFO sightings. However, as I spent more time mingling with the locals, they began to realize I wasn't just another curiosity seeker. I was here to dig deeper and reveal the truth. I think their curiosity and the frustration of receiving no answers led them to eventually opening up to me. One name kept coming up in my conversations: Steve Allen, a rancher and pilot who had witnessed the strange lights on that fateful evening. The residents of Stevensville had immense respect for him, and many considered him to be at the epicenter of the sightings. People believed that if anyone knew what really happened, it would be Steve. Steve was out that January afternoon, clearing brush off of a hilltop on his property. Before Steve knew it, the sun had dropped down behind the tree line. That's when he first saw the lights. He stood there, trying to understand what he was seeing. He described the lights as being triangular in shape, and some of the lights strobing randomly. He said that the UFO sped away at more than 3,000 miles per hour, followed by 2 fighter jets that were hopelessly outmaneuvered. Allen said that it took the aircraft just a few seconds to cross a section of that sky that it takes him 20 minutes to fly in his Cessna. The veteran pilot said the UFO, an estimated half-mile wide and a mile long, was, as he described it, bigger than a Walmart. He described the lights moving in ways that no aircraft he'd ever seen could. The lights were completely silent, their movements erratic and inexplicable. Steve recounted how they seemed to defy the very laws of physics. Steve was an excellent witness. He had aviation experience and had nothing to gain from sharing his story. In fact, it made him a reluctant figurehead of this phenomenon. After the events of that night, the town's day-to-day life was turned upside down. Reports of the mysterious lights flooded local news channels, and soon, national and international media descended upon Stevensville. Skeptics, believers, and UFO enthusiasts flocked to the town, creating a chaotic and sometimes hostile atmosphere. The government's response only added to the confusion. Initially, the Air Force stated that they had no aircraft in the area that night, but as public pressure mounted, they revised their statement and claimed that what witnesses saw were merely fighter jets on a routine training exercise. The opposing information left the town and the world confused. Steve shared that in the aftermath of the event, he had received numerous threats and even lost friends over his willingness to speak openly about the UFO sighting. The incident had cast a long shadow over the town, and the residents had grown weary of discussing it. My investigation led me to various other witnesses, each with their own account of that particular night. They all echoed Steve's description of the lights, confirming that this was no ordinary event. While some were hesitant to share their experiences, fearing the stigma that had come with discussing UFO sightings, others were more forthcoming, relieved to find someone willing to listen. One such witness was an anonymous local school teacher. She described how her students had arrived at school on the morning after the sighting, buzzing with excitement and stories of the strange lights in the sky. She herself had caught a glimpse of the lights while driving home from a late-night parent-teacher conference. She recounts the sheer scale and luminosity of the objects, or object, and how they had vanished as suddenly as they had appeared. The more I dived into the accounts, the more it became clear that something extraordinary had indeed happened over Stevensville. It wasn't just a case of collective hysteria or misidentified aircraft. The witnesses were genuine in their experiences, and the impact on their lives was undeniable and real. Based on the descriptions and accounts, the lights certainly didn't conform to any known aircraft or natural phenomena. The erratic movements and the sheer brightness of the lights suggest that they were dealing with something highly unusual. I delved into various possibilities, from secret military technology to extraterrestrial encounters, but I couldn't really land on an answer. Recently, the U.S. Navy has admitted to testing laser-based plasma to fool missile tracking systems. Could something similar to this be causing all these sightings? Over the next few days, I focused on collecting more data. I interviewed witnesses, took photographs of the area where the lights were seen, and gathered radar and satellite data from that night. The more evidence I gathered, the more the mystery deepened. The town's atmosphere grew tense as rumors of my investigation spread. People were torn between wanting to know the truth and being fed up with these outsiders invading their town, alien or otherwise. It was clear that Stevensville had become a place marked by this mysterious event, forever shaping the lives of its residents. That's when the suits arrived. After about a week, 4 men in suits showed up to my motel, apparently looking for me. Luckily for me, I was out at the local library researching the town's history. One of the people I had interviewed earlier in the week tipped me off. It was then that I decided it was time for me to get out of town, but not before making my first broadcast. That night, I drove my van out into the dark countryside. I found a quiet location not too far from where Steve Allen had his encounter all those months ago. I powered on my equipment, took a deep breath, and started my first transmission. It wasn't long, not by any standard, but I overcame my fear and got the signal out there. I got the story out on the airwaves, and here I am, still broadcasting. As I drove out of town on my way to the next case, I drove by the suits, speeding the opposite way. Were they tracking me somehow? Honing in on the broadcast location? Could this be the Department of Containment 6 was referring to? Well, I wasn't staying around to find out. I drove off into the night, not looking back. My investigation in Stevensville marked a turning point in my journey as broadcaster of the night signal. It was a reminder that the unknown is not always distant, that mysteries can be found in the most unexpected places. If you have a story like this one you would want to be made into a video, you could submit it by emailing me at broadcaster7@thenightsIgnal.com, or you can visit my newly redesigned website at thenightsIgnal.com. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you enjoy our content. Your support helps keep the Night Signal broadcasting. We have our ARG going on right now, so jump in and follow the clues. If you want to play, start with this video here, and visit my website for more clues and case files. And as always, this is Broadcaster 7 asking, are you receiving the Night Signal?